Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Joe Bowen again. We're going to try another group ride and see if maybe, just maybe, we can find one a little more settled than the last one we did a few minutes ago. You see where our event has popped up. Our joint event thing is there, our little box. So we're going to go ahead and click that. And it says, oh, we're going to Sand and Sequoias today. Oh, joy. Not my favorite. Not nearly my favorite. I might have seen a name I knew for my team. I'm not sure. Maybe not. Sand and Sequoias today. This is supposed to be a 2.5 watt per kilogram ride. Max, probably. That's good. It's real good. Because our last ride was a little quicker than we wanted it. You see we have the yellow beacon in the pen there. We're going for an hour on the Sand and Sequoias route, which means we'll do not quite 2 laps of it, probably, at that pace. Sand and Sequoias is a fairly lumpy route. We're in the desert. We'll get to see some desert. Fairly flat out to Saddle Springs, the Las Vegas look-alike town, and then we'll climb out of the desert and take a right at the Titans Grove entrance, and we'll go through Titans Grove forward, a little bit lumpy. Today maybe we'll see a little more of what a usual group ride is like. Last ride was more of a free-for-all, and it was fun. Usually a group ride is fairly well structured. The leader tries to keep everybody together. And in fact, there's a lot of complaining if people take off the front. People take off the front are called flyers. It's not a good thing to be. Yes, I've been a flyer sometimes. Sometimes it just works out that way, and you get there, and that's how you get your best workout, so that's what you do. But it's not a good thing to do generally, and I'm certainly not encouraging it. And we'll try not to do that today. We have about 4 minutes to get things going. I'll work on putting some tunes on. Neglected to do that on the last lap, the last ride, because I was so busy beating myself to death. There we go. Okay. We're back in our normal ATP kit and on our pink Tron, so all is well. You'll notice my handle says for Al instead of ATP. Our friend Al Price, his wife and his service dog were killed by a drunk driver in Arizona. Al got beat up pretty bad, is recovering, and we're all praying for Al to get it back together and be able to keep rolling. He's got a great support system in ATP and his church and a lot of people, and he's a tough Marine, so Al will make it, I'm sure. If you somehow, by some weird chance, Al, listen to this, we're pulling for you. Nice, steady community ride as usual, the rider says. Let's hope that's true. We'll try to do our part. You notice this ride, everybody's in their own jerseys. It's usual that we're on our own bikes. That was unusual, yes, on the last ride, but this one, not only on our own bikes, we're in our own jerseys. Some rides will put you all in the same jersey for the ride. It's up to the ride host how they like it. find it easier to find myself if I'm in my own kit and on my own bike. Not too many pink caps, pink Trons with ATP jerseys on. It's not even an ATP jersey actually, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Power Tap jersey, but we were looking for a distinctive jersey that nobody else seemed to ride, and we picked it. One of these days, maybe we'll get our own jersey in the game. We're hoping. We're starting to get noticed. Our higher level teams on the national or worldwide broadcasts. In fact, they showed the finish of our Sea Riders whooping up on people last night. Stage 9 of the WTRL Swift League, America's East. One of our guys won. I had the honor of being in the team car, hollering at him. It was as much fun as I've had in a long time. Almost as much fun as riding a bicycle, actually. 20 seconds to go. Spin it up just a little bit. Try to get up to the target wattage of about 2 to start. For me, that's a little over 150. Sometimes it starts out a little quicker. And there will be a fence, so we'll get to talk about the fence today. And this is not my favorite course, but it seems to be a favorite for the racers and for the rides. So I guess I should come to peace with it. It says stay behind the fence. Always a good idea. But we will try to get up to it and show you what it looks like if we can get there. Right now, we'll be lucky to see the yellow beacon. See him up there, or her. I believe this is a group from Abu Dhabi. I'm not positive. Thought that's what it said in the route description and ride description. If you look in the companion app and you sign on to a ride, look under events, there it will even show you the course. Many times the ride description will not tell you what course you're riding, and sometimes that's important. If there's a route you really want to see, you might pick a ride just for the route they're doing, if it's one you can manage. So our leader today will be hounding the people at the front a little bit. Some leaders will be rather vocal, or at least typing, telling you to be nice or else. Some of the riders in the chat on the side will get kind of nasty. Don't take it personally. Ride your best ride. Ultimately, you're here for you, ladies and gentlemen, not for anybody else. You're here to get the best ride you can get, and if you can, hopefully, you will pick a ride that staying with the leader will get you that workout. Tucking in behind the leader. Looks like they've got a black jersey on today. There they are. I believe that's a Yemeni flag. Doesn't really matter. We're all Zwifters. You might see people suddenly popping in. People can join late. The game will put them in with a group, sometimes all the way to the front. Now I get a nice power up now that I'm not carrying about going fast. Last ride we were trying to go fast and we kept getting 10 points. Oh well, that's how the game's played. It's like roulette, or the gamification of Zwift. Some people like it, some people don't. I try to concentrate on doing what I need to do, but also using the game elements to help motivate me. The points, the drops, some of the other things, the other riders. Right now we're just cruising along slightly ahead of the leader. If the leader's behind you, you'll see the little yellow name down at the bottom of your screen. If the leader's ahead of you, you'll see their beacon ahead of you, if you're lucky enough to be close enough. Another thing you can do is look at how far behind the leader is. I'm doing that now. Normally I would try to keep within 20 meters. It's probably a pretty good number, 15, 20. You get much further out than that, you start to lose the leader and get away from the group and start to become a flyer, even if you haven't passed the fence. In the old days, the fence would zap you. You got the fence, it would say, return to group. And it still does that. But it used to have a 60-second countdown. And if you didn't get back behind the fence within 60 seconds, out you went. You kept riding, but you were no longer part of the group. Unfortunately, some people did not like that. And there were some bugs with the way the fence worked. So sometimes people got booted when they shouldn't. So they took it down for a long time, and I just put it back up. More as a guide than a zapper. People still think of it as a zapper. I think they're talking about watts per kilogram. Sometimes the leader will respond to a message that you didn't see on the screen and you'll be totally lost. The leader can see everybody's messages. We can only see from about 100 riders around us. And sometimes it seems like there's more. Cruising along through the desert. This is the easy part of the route. Enjoy it while it's there, because there'll be about 5 or 6 miles of all up and down, and it'll be very difficult to keep it with a group. It's harder because of, and there's the fence. See that red ahead of me on my screen? That's the fence. We're starting to get close to it. We'll probably get a little closer to it, because I tend to give it a little gas up the hill, no matter what. Right now we're far enough behind, no messages. As we get closer to it, you'll see that we can get closer to it, but we can't. Let's get close enough to the fence to get a message. Let's see. There we go. Not quite. Here we go. We're not quite to the fence. It says return to group. That's the message you get when you get beyond the fence. We're right up against it. It says, yo, fool, get back. So we'll back off here a little. The fence is actually done in seconds. This leader has it set to about 5 seconds up the road from him or her. If the leader's going faster, the fence goes out farther because you go further in 5 seconds. You'll notice when we get on the hills, the fence is right up against us because you don't go very far in 5 seconds. Somebody says 3/4 of the field is in front of the fence. Really? Yep, sometimes that happens. Today, we're going to be very happy to stay with the group, I think. We just went up to the fence to show you what it was like. And no, it does not kick you out of the ride anymore. You can ride up in front of the fence the whole ride. Sometimes if you go into Whip Power and look, you'll be disqualified from a ride, which is rather silly, but they do it. Have been disqualified from rides, being too far in front of the leader. Oh gee, bad me. But usually I can say that I got a really good workout out of it. Again, that's what I'm looking for. The workout I'm looking for. Today, our first ride was a little more strenuous than I had planned. So I really needed to back off today. On the second one, try not to burn too many matches for the rest of the week. After having not ridden yesterday, lots of schoolwork. That's okay. Everybody needs a day off occasionally, and I get about 1 or 2 a month. Maybe. Leaders reminding the riders that he sets the pace, or she, and don't worry about everybody else. And that's how it should be. I find it amusing. I get off the front, they start yelling, and that's like, buddy, I know exactly what I'm doing. But thank you for noticing. You notice we're about 24 meters ahead of the beacon. We're not near the fence yet, really. That's because we're going at a pretty good clip. We're about 25 miles an hour. So 5-second fence is a good ways out. As our speed slows, as we get into the sequoias part of our route, you'll notice that the fence will be right on top of us. And we'll probably run afoul of it 2 or 3 times. That's okay. I've been yelled at by the best. After you've been yelled at by a general, not much else matters. We're coming in to Saddle Springs by the Sinclair Station with the dinosaur. I call it a Sinclair Station. I don't think Zwift can call it that. There's probably a copyright there somewhere. And they'd swear they knew nothing about green dinosaurs and gas stations. They just like dinosaurs. Some people watching the worlds. I'm too busy riding. Thank you very much. The leader will give us a little more fence on the hills because the up and down is such that the speed changes very quickly. That was a bigger issue when the fence actually kicked you out of the ride. It doesn't now, so is it a big deal? No. About a quarter of the way into our ride. It says regroup at the top. Already figuring things will go pretty silly. Next section. We haven't gotten to the climb yet. There'll be a short section of 2 to 3% before we even take the turn into the sequoias. Titans Grove. Past the turnaround. Here we go. You can see we're just starting to get into the fence now. And we'll probably get in front of it in just a minute. And you'll see what happens. We're just starting to ride through the fence now. Nothing happens. Pick up the gears. Stand up. Fence is going on in a few more seconds. Helps us a little. Riding through the fence, now we're totally beyond it. We no longer see it. But our return to group message still shows on our screen. No timers. We're being bad here. It's okay. You also notice, no, he's still there. Our yellow name is at the bottom of our screen, barely visible through our power graph, but it doesn't show a distance. It means it's beyond about 5 meters. We've eased up on the power. Group's coming back a little, still flirting with the fence. You see, nothing bad's happening. Fence is at 10, so that means our leader's about 10 seconds behind us. It'll be a while before we, at least a mile before we get to the the KOM. This section rises and falls. Rather continuously, just like southern Indiana. I don't like this course, only because I've ridden team time trials on it and gotten dropped badly. Really embarrassing. But honestly, I was in over my head. All right, just keep cruising here. And right now yep, our leader's still on the board there. Barely visible. And we're actually within the fence. Not trying to go too hard here. Not very many watts downhill. This is the most sustained downhill in the section before the climb. Pretty quickly we'll be into the climbing for real. We'll see a little dotted line across the road. There it is. We're now in the climb. At first, we'll climb, but then we'll get pretty level. You see we started a nice 3%. Nice and steady. Here we flatten out actually for a while. 13.3 to start to flatten out. Let's see how far that goes. And downhill. So the climb is not all climb. Okay, about 3/10 of a kilometer. So we start to climb again. Again, then we get to another fairly flat and downhill section. So we really haven't started climbing in earnest yet. This routine time trial would be clicking up through the gears, trying to keep our momentum up. Barely getting into the climbing. Not quite yet. Be quick. It's around a kilometer from the line till you really get in to the climb. It says 2.6 kilometers. For about a mile, or plus a kilometer. See, we're getting hit the fence a little. Sit down. Getting into the switchbacks, number of them. 3 switchbacks. We'll go through before we hit the line. This is switchback 1. At each switchback, you'll notice the road flattens just ever so slightly. Whoop, we've gotten beyond the fence. Having too much fun, didn't notice. Coming up to switchback 2. It's a little steeper and flattens for just a few yards. There's where it flattens. try to hit our aero power up right about the line. So we'll use it at least on the flat and then pick up another power up at the line. Heading for the third switchback. Here we go, here's where it flattens. Stand on a little bit. Keep the momentum up. Out of the corner. And out of the line. Some events, the line's marked with a big banner. Usually, just a couple of rocks by the side of the road. Not quite there. Almost. See it on my mini map. Almost there. Flattening out. Hit it. Well, our poor leader, a little late for me. Hopefully the big group will catch us as we make our way down the hill. At this point, we're so far ahead of the fence, I don't think it matters. It's okay, we'll endeavor to get back. Bring the wattage way down. We got a feather. Actually, that's a nice power up for this descent, because once we've gotten to the bottom, there'll be 3 little rises. The third rise is the one that's the steepest. First 2 you can just stand up over. The third one, I'll try to call them out if I can. The third one you have to stand up and let it rip, because it's prolonged. Steady front, yep. People are starting to come back to us. That's good. We'll let them all come back. Once we see the beacon and the beacon's still way back there, the fence. Once the fence is beyond, okay, there's the first. That's our first. Second. This is the third. This is the prolonged one. There it goes. Keeps going. Not time for the power up yet. Around this corner. There it is. Here it is. Steep right here. I got it a little early. Steepest part of the climb right there. Still hit it about right. And it ran out just in time. Perfect. Actually hit that pretty well. Now we're just going to go up and down, keep steady, let the group come back to us, let the fence come back to us. We've got nice workout up the hills. Now we're just steady down the hills, little rises, it undulates. People complaining, that's okay. You're welcome to complain. Doesn't bother me a lick. Another little rise. Nice and steady. Fence hasn't quite caught us up yet. As the fence catches it, we'll want to give it a little more gas, so as the group comes by, we can latch on. As it will come by with a little bit of momentum, probably, depending on where it hits us. Not too worried about staying with that group. Fence is almost on top of us now. So the mini map, our little, there it is. We can tell it's on top of us. We start seeing it's red. It's okay to stay ahead of it a little. You might think I'd want to just do nothing, let it catch me. No, I'd lose all my momentum, and as the group would catch me, it would leave me in the dust. Been there, done that. So I still want to ride pretty steady. Just let it happen naturally. Finally, on the correct side of the fence. That worked out nicely. Here's the group. The front of it. Beacon still near the back of it. At least we can see there about 30 meters. Pushing 4 watts. One of two things is happening. One, they're very lightweight, and therefore watts isn't very many watts. Or maybe they're on a time trial bike, and you cannot draft on one of those. Common error. Still floating at the fence, that's okay. Still have a few little lumps. Almost to the corner though. I believe we see the corner ahead of us. There it is. We're going right. Yeah, we survived Titans Grove once. How nice. If I keep doing this route, maybe I'll get to like it. Probably not. Front weight up, he says. Yep. We're doing it. The mass of the group should bring them to us, although we're actually in a pretty decent group. No reason to search the front of it. Just sit in, nice and steady. Let things come back together. We're almost to where we started. We started at the Pens, which is a little over about 2.5 kilometers from the start-finish banner for this loop. There's the Pens. So we spent a few tenths of a kilometer in the Pens. So about 20.5 kilometers for the route. Go for the loop, and if it was a formal race, the start-finish would be ahead 2.5 kilometers up the road. So you have what they call lead-in. They talk about lead-in, that's what that means. If it's a distance ride, they'll sometimes show lead-in. It used to be that they showed a bar for the lead-in first, and then went to the main course. They stopped that. Just found one bar to show us our little blue bar there, telling us how much further we have to go. Again, this ride it's time. Sometimes it's distance, sometimes it's time. Depends on what the group leader wants to do. People say you can't win a timed ride. That's true, but you can go further. Sometimes you want to get a little more out of your time. And we're still sitting just ahead of the fence. Just cruising nice and steady. Around 2 watts per kilogram. Nice pace. Just what we want to do. No reason to change. If he hasn't already done it, he'll, come on, front, weight up, he says. Well, okay, we're coming. Coming back. I am waiting. At the hills you can go, he says. Well, I can go anytime I want, actually. But I get his point. Here we go. We're just getting to the right side of the fence, and that's okay. Today we're not going for blood. At least not on this ride. The other ride, yes. This one, no. So, you've seen what it's like to be a flyer. Today, we were a flyer for a while, and we came back. If we were really serious about being a flyer, we would have hammered it through the sequoias and left them 5 minutes in the rearview mirror. But we didn't need to do that. That wasn't our plan today. Coming back up to the Fuego Flats Sprint. The first little town is called Fuego Flats, and we're just outside it. The sprint starts at the Pueblo up here. Right up here, you can see the Pueblo on the right. Boom, right there. And now we're in really good shape. Our leader is 15 meters behind. Some people are sprinting. We are not sprinting. We did enough of that the last ride. How does one calibrate, they ask? Your trainer should be occasionally spun down. I need to do mine again. I've done it for a few weeks. If the temperature or humidity in your space has changed much, or if you've moved it a little bit, I'll move mine back a little. I'll get my app. I could do it in Zwift. Better do it in the app for your trainer. I have a Watto app that has a spin down. I just bring the phone down and do it. And right leads right. There's also a tool when you log on for a spin down. There's a little wrench that you click. Yeah, we're just cruising along. How nice. Person tried to give us a ride on. If we can get ourselves in the list, we'll do that. Whoop. Can't catch ourselves. Now we'll just, there we go. Back to us. I like to do it that way. I don't want to go all the way across the screen to back to me. No problem with giving somebody a ride on that way is you end up watching them, and then you have to find yourself again. They're trying not to give us a spoiler alert for the Worlds. That's good. We'll probably watch that between classes today, or maybe before our first class today. Sometimes it does take a few more extra watts to stay where you want to go or be. I'm doing 2.6, 2.8, 2.4, varies a lot. I'm in the pack, and it's about right. It's around 2.5. So it's what I bargained for. It's just, when we get to the hills, I do more than 2.5 watts. That's a sexist comment there. Great group here, fellas. Well, that tells me the ride leader is a male. There's probably some ladies on the ride. God bless them. And ladies. There we go. Corrected himself. Sometimes that's a cultural bias. Sometimes people just assume it's mostly guys. The ladies actually are the toughest. Our ATP ladies are absolutely fierce. They are the best. They never quit. They turn themselves out inside out, backwards, and sideways. I am always amazed. Settle into a nice ride. When we hit the hills again, it'll all blow up. And that's okay. We'll just ride steady and do what we got to do. Get through the ride, finish the lap, maybe. And it actually took us about 15 minutes from Penns to the start of the climbing. Still moving pretty quickly. Right up for my mate Andy Kroll, who raced very well last night. Craig Brackens won again. Craig's great. Andy and Chad Hagen were way up front. Other guys were very good too. Both teams rode very nicely. Everybody worked their butts off. Very proud of them. See, the blob really picks up. Instead of calling it a peloton, we just call it a blob, because it looks like a blob. And yes, the fence is still up there. If you look on my mini map, you'll see there's a fence. Nobody's even close. At least when the first, we're within the 100 riders around me. That's another thing you'll notice on big rides. You say, well, where is everybody? Well, you just can't see them. Due to limitations on your video card and graphics abilities, you only see the 100 riders near you. And as you move up or back through a group, you'll see different people. People will disappear because they get outside that 100 rider group. So is there somebody closer to the fence? Probably not, but maybe so. Maybe I just can't see them. As I move closer to the front, it doesn't appear so. That's one way to find out. Go to the front. In fact, if you want to find out how far the next group is up the road, go to the front. Get to the front of the group. The people in front of you, you'll see, will be up the road a ways if you're at the very front. Otherwise, you just see the riders near you. You'll have no clue, except you see on the mini map, we have a few riders that we're catching up with a little bit. They're still ahead of the fence. They're coming back to us. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they're trying to be nice. Doesn't matter. We'll pick them up soon. The fence is picking up one now. Two. I don't know, you can't tell if there's one rider or more, but time for a drink. We're not likely to get through the whole lap. by the end of our time today. Probably will finish the lap though, just because. Since depends where we're at. Almost up to 38 million drops. I wonder where I can spend those. Not at McDonald's though. And not at the bike shop. $38 million drops. And that's what I haven't already spent on things. There's a guy out there with about at least 70 million. I know. Rides a lot more than I do. Named Jason Wagner. He does what I used to be able to do. Ride forever. Heck of a rider. Coming into Saddle Springs again. With a couple little rises here. Little 1-2%. And then we'll rise out of the desert. Less than 15 minutes to go now. A little more to rise. It's only 1%, but you can feel it. Around the corner. Oops. I look for it to go crazy. As soon as we hit the hills, when the ride leader says go, anybody who is holding back will not. We will continue to just ride steady, climb the hills like we always do. You can see them massing at the front, getting ready to let it rip. Reaching to go. Coming past LAX. Almost back to the hills, he says. Yep. Sand and sequoias. Ready for the sequoia spot. In about 20 or 30 meters, I would consider us being back in the hills. Says he'll remove the fence. It'll disappear from our mini map. Up we go. Still there, I don't really care. Doesn't matter. Try to get the KO in. Nope. This is the part of the climb where you have to push a little harder because the grade goes down. Enjoy the hills. Yep, no fence. They'll be chewing you up in just a minute. Here they come. Doing a lot more watts than I can. of this. Here we go. Haven't even hit the good downhill yet for the climb. There we go. Whew. Making pretty good time. Downhill. Keep our gear up, momentum up. The dyno coming into the climb really soon. Around this corner, I believe. There it is. Up. In order to put the pins down, you let it rip himself. Rider you want to go to. Many times the ride leaders will lead rides a good bit slower than their usual as a recovery. It's like, hey, ride leaders letting it rip. Now we're in that flatter part of the section. Little rise here, another descent for the real climbing. No. Stand a little. Just getting into the climb now. A little bit of it. So I'm going to come into the switchbacks. Switchback one. A little harder on the corner. Whew. Switchback two. Flattens out here. Just a moment. Switch back 3. Flattens out here. Keep it running. Push to the line. There we are. Yes. Woo! PR. Relax. Down the other side. Oh my goodness. Wow. That's fun. "14th fastest. Not bad. For a slow man. Not quite 7 seconds faster. 6.5 seconds faster than our best. Here we go. And the little ups. Coming in just a moment. Here comes the group. Rise number 1. Stand up. Number 2. Sustained one coming. Into the gears. Get bogged down. Steep part now. Yes. Woo! Another minute of the ride. How far can we go in an hour? In San Sequoias. We all enjoyed it. Yes, we did. Over 30 miles an hour. Over 39. Not bad. The hilly course. The constrained group. Yes. Very nice. Now we just need to get the finish line, cool down. There we go. Still have to Get out of the squeeze. Ouch. Whoa. Well, that tickled. A few more wiggles to go before we get to the corner. At this point, we're no longer on the ride proper. We're just in Autopia. So we see everybody. People who are still on the ride. Ahead of us. Behind us. Come into the corner now, we'll go right, head for the pens, and head for the finish. And finish this ride. Nice ride. Still a pretty hard ride in spots. Work more on our 1 and 5 minute power today. Our weaknesses. Recognize some of the names from the ride. At this point, we're just cruising in. In case we get any ride-ons, we can return them. We can see the pens coming up. We know that 2 laps of this course from pen to pen, about 41.5 kilometers, not quite, on 40, 41. Whew. So today, what did we learn? We learned about group rides, flyers, the fence, the beacon, what they might tell you. There are all kinds of different group rides to do. Some are fast, some are easy. Depends on the power and how that power compares to what you do. It will be an easy ride for me. It might be a hard ride for somebody else. What might be a ripper of a ride for me is probably easy for many Zwifters because they're faster than I am. It's okay. I'm guessing we'll come in at 43, 44 kilometers to finish. There's a guy gave it a ride. I'm going to say thank you. Give him one. Tri Club. Our triathletes on Zwift. Some of them are the fastest there are. A gentleman named, I remember his name, Lionel Sanders, world-class triathlete, also competes with the best cyclists on Zwift. Some of the best cyclists on Zwift are the triathletes, especially in the time trials, team time trials. They are just amazing. Looks like we'll be about 44 kilometers when we shut it off. coming up to the sprint. We're not going to do anything special. Just going to roll in. We're just holding down, trying to let the heart rate come down a little. Be nice before we get ready for lunch and class. Our best so far has been 40 seconds. Last 50 days. We're not going to attack that. Done about none last week. Almost broke 30. Almost broke 40. Just cruising on in. Anybody gets a PR on this, we'll give them a ride on. And we really want to slow today. That's okay. There's a PR. Whoop. Went away. There it went. Now let's see if we get a ride on we would have liked to have before. Nope, 10 points. Alright, almost a 44. I think that'll be good enough for today. And we'll take it to 45. Big, nice, even, nice, interesting number. 44 is kind of a weird number. One more kilometer cool down. We should just about be to Fuego Flats by the time we finish. Not quite, maybe. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a real pleasure to be with you. Thanks very much for coming along with me today. Have a good rest of your day.